project on improving the call center operations in workers' communication, and he's Ken Peter. He's our sales heads to IC, so he'll be taking that and we'll be giving out the suggestions to improve. Like he'll be passing on in the report to our sales head. So we miss our one of our teammates, Mariana. She's sick. Hope she might respond to it. So Mike will take it. Okay. Cool. Can we just have another jacket here, please? Okay, thanks.
Cool. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. We're Team B, and we'll be presenting on improving call center operations at Vocus Communications. From the handout we've given you, it's like a summarization of our executive summary with a few issues and recommendations at the end. My name is Michael. This is Desmond, and this is Manoj. Marianne is sick, so unfortunately she couldn't make it today. The structure for today will go as follows: the overview, then we'll follow by key recommendations and issues, background and investigation and context, presented problem alternatives, analysis, then final recommendations and feedback and questions. So first, a little background about Vocus. Vocus is a vast organisation that sells internet connections across the country and also overseas. These connections are marketed by distribution of flyers, online ads and television ads. In 2014, Vocus acquired FX Networks, and with this they cemented their future as a true trans-Tasman organisation and network provider. Vocus work on improving their products and ensuring the workman of their products through accepting inbound and outbound calls regarding any problems or possible enhancements. Next, bro. These are the key recommendations that we thought Vocus should implement. They include keeping the caller informed, increasing initial ring time and call analytics. And I'll now pass it on to Manoj.
Here, with respect to this operations, the key issues addressed here is whenever the marketing campaign is launched in, the call flow goes high, which creates a problem in supply and demand. So the number of calls is high, comparative to the number of agents. So this this creates a long wait time in the queue. So which in turn, what happens is the customer loses their patience, and that leads to call abandonment. So I'll be discussing everything in detail though. This process was carried out, the investigation was carried out. So on first visit we had a meeting with our sales head and the flow supervisor. We have a software called Touchpoint where it will give you an idea of the number of calls and the call abandonment percentage. So we derived this call abandonment data from that software. And with respect to the arrival rates, the number of calls arrived, so that software will only give us the call arrived for each product. So since Vocus works on 3 products, so we use this Poisson theory because the call arrival rates are random. So we use the Poisson theory to determine the call arrival rates. And with respect to the call waiting time, again, the software only gives us the call wait time for a particular brand. So we need to figure out the entire call waiting time across, take an average. So we use the little formula, which we studied in last semester with Peter's business process improvement. And the presented problem here is the queue and queue length. As I told you earlier, the queue length is vast nowadays, due to the marketing campaign. It's heading to 12 calls in a queue, 13 calls in a queue, which is not being not able to adapt by the company. So again, it leads to call abandonments, which will be later discussed by Desmond, and the service time. So the company is trying to deliver a quality service within the time frame, but again, it tends to exceed due to improper training across all the brands. Okay, so when it comes to queue is again the main reason for queuing is improper forecasting with respect to the call marketing campaign. So again, it goes high, and the problem determining the call waiting is irregular patterns. So sometimes it goes high, sometimes it doesn't have any queues at all. Okay, can you move in? So call abandonment will be discussed by Desmond.
Yeah, so call abandons is basically the rate of abandons the customer does before actually speaking to an agent. This happens basically due to queuing that is seen at Vocus Communication in specific brands. So when a person is waiting on call, he generally abandons due to anxiety, and since this is a sales department, so the customer does not want to wait much longer as well. What we've recorded that the abandons go as high as 32% as shown in this slide. Call abandons happen during different stages during a call. So it can happen during the first 5 seconds. It happens during when on an automated message. And we've also recorded from our literature review the average industry figures for good abandons as less than 2%, acceptable between 2 to 5%, and anything above 5%, the industry sees it as a problematic situation. At Vocus, these are certain products that we have at Vocus, and the abandon percentage has gone a little bit that side, but the average abandons that we've recorded is 18%. That is the average across the multiple products that we are selling. Our project objective is to reduce queuing for inbound calls and design a procedure for impatient customers, which is basically to improve the call abandoning. Solutions that we have figured out for queuing and call abandonment are being discussed now. Queuing will be discussed by Little's formula by Manoj later during this presentation. However, for call abandonment, we have a couple of alternatives that I will be discussing right now. One of them is to keep the caller informed. So, as told that the marketing campaigns in Vocus results in high queuing. So over here, when on queuing, generally there is a pop-up message which says that you are particularly waiting on queue, and we appreciate your wait times right now on queue, and we would shortly provide you an agent to speak with. However, this particular keeping the caller informed states that to be truthful to the customer, rather than keeping them on an automated message, they suggest that keep the caller informed of approximate how much is the wait time, whether they are next in queue, whether they'll be answered the next customer to be serviced, or whether there is approximate 60 seconds of wait time before you get answered. So being truthful reduces the customer's anxiety to abandon the call. The second solution is to increase the initial ring time, which is that is one of the best solutions that we found out. Instead of when a customer calls, instead of just placing them directly on an automated message, rather than just give the initial ring, like the ring like we get in normal phones. If you're calling a friend, the phone is ringing, right? So the customer knows it is written in our literature review that the customer will not abandon a call at that particular stage, because either the customer is waiting for an automated message to be heard, or the customer is waiting for an agent to be heard too. So the initial ring time basically buys some extra 7 to it depends on how many seconds do you want to initially increase the ring time. It will buy the organizations those vital 7-8 seconds initially when during a queue. Improving callback techniques. There are various techniques to deploy a callback solution. Vocus was also initially doing a callback technique, but we are not sure that whether it was a failure or success due to we were not shared with that data, so we could not suggest exactly how to provide a callback solutions. However, our literature review says that deploying a callback solutions is a way more safer and a cost-effective method to reach back to your customers rather than having abandoned calls. So if when a customer calls and you know that you have a high queue, we could introduce an automated message which says, leave us with your number and we would get back to you as soon as we can. A lot of organizations are doing that in a very fast-paced globalization world today. The other alternatives for call abandons are call analytics. Call analytics is we suggest that we introduce an analytical team that would analyze the call abandons, whether the call is being abandoned in 10 seconds, whether the call went unanswered, whether the call was when an agent was speaking and then the call was abandoned. So we introducing a call analytics, the exact abandoned, a similar percentage of abandons that a customer abandons into, the organizations can then classify those particular abandoned rates into different segments and then ask their agents to call back to them regarding the solutions or the abandoned area that they abandoned their call. And improving in queue messages is basically again the automated messages that I was discussing earlier. So a lot of organizations these days are testing and experimenting the automated messages. Like for example, when I initially said that if we introduce something that tells the customer when they would be answered, they could experiment in different ways. They could either see record the percentage of call abandons when they are telling that they are number 7 or number 6 to be answered, and they would get a call abandoned rate from that as well. And then they could also experiment, automated message which says that you would be answered in approximately 20 seconds or 30 seconds. So they will have different ways to analyze those particular automated messages, and there are a couple of more personalized automated messages that they can experiment into. Manoj will take over the wait time analysis.
So wait time analysis. So what we figured out is the number of agents scheduled per shift is right now in Vocus for per shift is eight agents. So we used the queuing management. It's a queuing model using Little's formula, so which we studied last semester in Peter's class. So I used his Excel sheet spreadsheets. Hope it's a genuine one. Yeah. So we used it. So I just we figured out on a high marketing campaign. I just figured out the number of calls, and we took an average and we put it in with respect to the Poisson's ratio. We put it as we figured out the arrival rate and service time. So service time is nothing but we figured out on average service time is close to 5 minutes 40 seconds to somewhere on 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So we got a precise we got a closer service time. It says here as 5 minutes 45 seconds. So if you put it across on a hourly basis, you get to serve 11 customers per agent. So again, the case is number of customers, number of agents on the queue. So this is how it's been calculated. So if 8 customers on board, the average wait time, if eight agents on board, the average wait time is close to 9 minutes and 89, 9.89 minutes. So that's huge. That's what is happening here, and so that's on a high marketing campaign. So that's what we figured out. So we took a data from the marketing campaign where the company had to lose a lot of customers and had maximum call abandonment. So the same thing, what we recommend is if the same company hires one more agent, all right, so if I put the same, introduce the number of services 9, you can see the number of average number of queues is 2.70 customers. The wait time is reduced to 1.96 minutes. So that's a huge difference, and that's what we recommend. But if this hiring an agent isn't a cost-effective one for the company, and it's a big hassle to recruit an agent and train him, and it's not a cost-effective option for a company. Though what I would recommend is train the current agents across on various brands. So most of the agents are not trained across all the brands. It's just 70% of them are trained across various brands. If we give them cross training to take care of all that, so I would suggest this is a better idea. So recommendations will be shared by
Cool.
Mike.
So, as you can see, we have a lot of recommendations here. Things that Vocus could take on board. We're currently in the process of trying to eliminate ones that may not be as important as others for the sake of the final report. But you guys can also see the recommendations on your handout as well. Other than that, that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.
So compliments on using some basic analytics, queuing theory to explore possibilities there. You mentioned about analytic software. Are there analytic modules that can be kind of built on as an add-on extra to the existing software that manages the call center? What are those, and what's the cost of those analytic modules? Otherwise, are you talking about writing your own?
Call analytics, since Desmond did research on this, we do have an IT department which is like taking care of all this, like software related issues. But what we recommend is we can put forward this to the IT team, and we can get a suggestion from them. Like, this is a recommendation, but we need to figure out how it's feasible from their end to pitch in, because we do have a software called Touchpoint, which is being like used currently, which determines the call abandonment, but it doesn't say like what time it's been abandoned. So we can certainly put forward this to the IT team, and like it should be a cost-effective one, because just an add-on, it's not an entire software to be implemented, because the software is already studying, like giving out the data for call abandonments for each day, or maybe a separate brands. But I would recommend, we could certainly go and have a chat with we can suggest the team to work on it, and it should be a cost-effective one. I don't see a point in why we need to buy separate software. It's just an add-on. It could be done if the software is capable of determining the entire the call abandonment rate of, like if you consider this example as 32%, that was the highest. They would definitely have an idea of at what time it's been abandoned. So I would say it should be a effective add-on. So it would definitely help us to determine the time frames.
So you spoke about marketing campaigns. What are you talking about? Like, are you talking about sales? Are you talking about customer service, or are you talking about technical? Because when you talk about call waiting, it's mostly you find call abandonment mostly when it comes to technical, because there are so many people calling in, and the call time for a technical call goes really long. So when it comes to sales, it's not that long, and the call flow is not that much. So which are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, when you say marketing, are you talking about sales? Because the call flow for sales is not that high when compared. The call abandonment for sales is not as much as when it compares to technical and the customer service thing.
But when it comes to marketing, so it's all about acquiring customers, like new acquisition. So we do take care of sales, but on a whole, if you look at the service, like the call flow, that also includes the technical part of it and also the retention. So it's on a whole, I would say.
So Desmond was saying, like, to call back messages and what's going on. And how can you actually judge a call time? Because you can't judge how long a conversation is going to go about. So how could you say, like, you're going to call back in 20 seconds or something like that, or 1 minute or 2 minutes? Because you can't exactly judge a call time. Call times could be like a conversation could be short, a conversation could go for a longer time. So how could you judge it?
Are you talking about the call time that you're speaking to the customers? Yeah, the service time.
So the data we derived was we took an average of how long the customer the talk time is. So we took an average and we figured out this is what the maximum time frame is. So there could be a call which could go up to 35 minutes or 45 minutes, but there could be a call which can be wrapped up in like 3 minutes. So we can't that's what we know. We can't determine a proper time frame. That's why we took an average of this how the time frame will be.
So what if you tell the customer you're going to be connected in about 2 minutes and he stays on hold for another 10 minutes and what happens? Like, wouldn't you be frustrated about it?
If a customer is to be connected in another 2 minutes, that is basically telling them on an automated message that he's going to be answered in another 2 minutes, right? Is that right? Yeah. So when a customer knows so if there's a glitch that the customer is answered in another 10 minutes, then we got to deploy a solution that actually the timings that we are telling them is the timings that they'll actually be, speaking to an agent. So our software or the add-ons that we add in the automated message has to be pretty precise, that actually meets the time that they're saying. So that is how basically a customer would know that, okay, yes, I'll be on hold for 2 minutes. He could keep the phone on a loudspeaker and wait there for 2 minutes. But we are not here. We do not definitely want that. If you're telling them that he's going to be answered in 2 minutes and he's being answered in another 5 minutes, so we have to take care. That would be as part of a challenge that we got to implement. That while deploying such a solution, that an automated message, that we do not go wrong in that.
So moreover, it's not a precise timing though. We could give a time frame like you will be answered in 3 to 5 minutes. That should sound better, because as he told, you can't predict the talk time. It could be wrapped up in a very short time and it could go longer. But so we could certainly. It's not that every agent is on a call. So we would figure out there's someone idle who'll be finishing the call. So we can get an idea, so that you will be going, you'll be connected to that particular agent in certain minutes, certain amount of time. It could be, we can give a time frame, 3 to 5 minutes, or maybe 6 to 8 minutes.
These are the experimental automated messages that I was talking about. These automated messages were based on the literature review, which basically suggests that you can experiment on your automated messages. That basically means that when you're testing or experimenting a particular message, we are testing what are the abandoned rates for that particular message. So let's say we've tried 5 different messages in a period of time, and let's say we figured out that the call abandoned rates was for message X was the lowest. So we can then again we can suggest that we should apply that particular message and record the call abandons for another particular month. So experimenting these automated messages and the successful ones which are proving low call abandon rates can be applied to the organization for their automated messages. So this is basically you're experimenting messages. Now if something is going wrong, in the sense if the customer knows that he's the 5th person on queue, and it keeps on repeating that he's the 5th person on queue, then it's a technical glitch between while we are installing the software or the add-ons on the automated messages, that it's not being rightfully answered. It's not being rightfully served. Like if the 5th customer was supposed to be jumping on number 4 and he's not jumping on number 4 for a long time, and if you figure out that he's just remaining on as on the 5th customer. But generally that is not a problem, because the other organizations have these add-ons, and it should be a simple it's a technical add-on that has to be added by the IT team. It has to match the call-in flows, the software that we're using and stuff.
It occurs to me that through your basic queuing morals, you should be able to say, okay, at a particular instant in time, you should be able to say, okay, there's a 90% chance that the call will be answered within 7 minutes time, an 80% chance it'll be answered within 6 minutes time. There's a 50% chance it'll be answered within 5 minutes time. That's possible to determine from the shapes of the curves. So you should be able to determine your service level, the message that says, okay, thanks for waiting. There's a good chance that you will be picked up between 5 and 7 minutes time. You don't need to give them the probabilities, but you should be able to give that information from both historical and from real-time information, because you've got X numbers of servers there. You don't have to rely on one coming through. You know the probability of some coming three. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this will definitely give us an idea, like what percentage, what's the probability of you being answered in particular like time frame.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will definitely take this. We'll add it on our report. Yeah, we'll say. Thank you much.
Target service level.
Yeah.
80% of the time, you want to be able to answer within 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I'm a bit concerned about this long amount of time for hiring and training. How did you arrive to these figures, 6 to 12 months? Isn't it a bit too long for training?
No.
That's a forecasting. So if a marketing campaign, so I derived this from a literature review though. So what I'm doing for Malama's class. So yeah, this is purely on how to schedule and hire according to a marketing campaign. So if a company plans a marketing campaign before 6 months, so just imagine if they are planning, of course they would definitely forecast what are their future plans. Every company does. So if they are planning to launch a product, so they need to forecast how the call flow will be according to their advertisements and stuff. So they need to hire the team they need to plan 6 to 12 months in advance, and they should keep a team ready to tackle that marketing campaign. So that's what the literature review says. So you need to plan. That's long term. That's called long term planning. So there are like 3 types. One is long term planning, where you need to plan 6 to 12 months in advance for a particular marketing campaign. It could be huge. Maybe just imagine if it's an iPhone 7 launch. It's a huge. So the entire world is waiting for it. So we need to hire and train the agents according to the particular campaign. All right. So that should be should be done. 6 to 12 months in advance. I'm pretty sure, if you consider as iPhone, they would have forecasted iPhone 7 2 years back, at least minimum 2 years back or a year back. They would made all arrangements with respect to that launch. So pretty much the same. So if the company is planning to launch a particular product, or maybe an ultra fiber, just imagine if they're planning to launch a fiber in this Christchurch or any other place, so they will definitely hire agents and train every agent according to their technical aspects of it, either it's sales or technical part of it. So that's what is called long-term planning. I just studied from this literature review. And there are 2 more types. It's long-term, short-term, and intraday planning. So short-term was weekly planning of rosters and stuff, and intraday was just it's on-spot planning. So if someone is not there, just imagine if the agent doesn't turn up, so there'll be a team called Rocket Team. So that's what they call it. So where the particular agent is has knowledge in all, either it's technical or sales or maybe customer service. So there'll be one particular agent who could be a senior agent or experienced one who will have knowledge in all 3 aspects. So that's what called intraday planning. So this is what 3 types of planning, agent scheduling plans I studied in this literature review. So I just put across one as a recommendation in this Vocus project.
See your last slide of recommendations and give us your impression now. Just talk us through what you are seeing as the most important recommendations that you will place here. Give us about 3 of those, the most important ones.
Yeah, so to start off with this cross-product training, so this I mentioned earlier, so training all the agents across all the 3 brands and all the 3 departments, either it could be customer service, a technical part of it, or sales. And this is forecasting. This pretty much like it's forecasting, recruiting and training the agents.
Okay, so the why of that is so improve cross-product training and cross-brands so that effectively you are moving that number of available servers from whatever, 8 that's effectively what that will do, and you've shown that will have a dramatic impact on the average
Service fueling. Yeah, because if the company is keen on, if they doesn't want to take the hassle of hiring and training them, if they feel if it's cost effective, they can go for this cross product training.
Yeah.
So with two alternatives, it purely depends on the company which one they want to adapt. But what the stat says is, I would if I was the head of sales or I was HR, I would definitely recruit one more agent. So you can see that there's a huge difference in call rate time, and recruiting and training 6 months. It's again, I would say this is a proper one. The second part, because you get an idea of how with the help of the forecast, it's not about hiring. It's not about tolerance level. You just hire whatever is required, and just like equaling supply and demand. So you know how the demand will be. So you hire the agents and train according to the particular project. So
and one of the third one would be to increase the initial ring time, so that the call abandonments reduce. Like we buy some extra seconds for an agent.
Right. We increase the initial ring time,
yeah.
before the IVR response.
Before the automated messages.
Then,
Yes.
Yeah.
change welcome message.
Yeah. To what? To 6 seconds or something.
Yes. That it depends. We don't want to make it too long as well.
Yeah,
because they'll be anticipating something is going to come in very soon.
You then get told you've got to wait 10 minutes before you're going to reach them.
But this part, increasing initial ring time is probably the easiest thing to do for a company. So.
It's very cost effective, and a lot of people were recommending it on the literature review, and I found it myself very interesting when I found this on literature review that it is actually you're just basically just putting the rings, 4 or 5 rings before you actually place them onto an automated machine. And it's not always they can implement this during their high queues problem when they want to buy some extra time.
All right. Okay. So you can vary the number of rings.
Yes, you can adjust them as well.
So as far as we have an active ID team working on it, we can pretty much.
This is a pretty easy implementation. The other thing, what I was also thinking was that regarding the agent increase, my literature review in call abandonment also said that a low call abandonment rate is a high cost to the organizations. You can always increase the number of agents to from 8 to 12 to get this settled, get this under control and all. But what happens during the times when there is no marketing campaign, when the agent's sitting idle? So we got to look at points when whether increasing agents is actually benefiting the company, or whether a little bit of higher abandonments is okay for the company, because it all depends on the cost as well.
Yeah, well, you can do those whole curves.
Right, exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
And there will be a discussion, but you'll have real data there.
Right.
That you can say, all right, you want to go from 8 minutes
to right.
1 minute. Any more comments or questions?
Yeah, I really like this finding about initial time, good, and as well as good use of literature review. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add that you guys did a good literature review and you managed the team even after one member was missing. That's good.
Yeah, obviously pretty pleased to see the use of analytical models to explore some of the implications of the data that you've been collecting. So well done on that. One positive point.
I like all the statistics that you guys put about over there, because there's so many things that you could actually consider that I'm not sure about, because we just look at the old picture, we don't go in detail into it, and you guys like went into detail of what is actually going on and what could be actually. There's so many things that you could actually consider based on this presentation, like what you guys put forward, which is really good. Thank you.
Cover up everything I want to say. Good effort on using the theory you learned before, and then let me go straight to the suggestion. Peter, is it okay?
Yes.
Just a question. Why do you want to laminate this paper? Because I want to write something on it. I couldn't. Yeah. That's the problem. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the areas for improvement.
So you could have been more precise about things, I was a bit confused at the start about what you were actually into, because you said marketing campaign. I thought you guys were just talking about sales, so I wasn't sure you guys were like talking about everything in an all. So you could have been more precise about it, and more detail about that part of it.
I think you need to rehearse your introductions of any presentation that you do, and a bit more rehearsal on the technology. You're holding your mini iPad there and looking down on it. What we want to be doing is engaging with you. You need to be looking at us. So it's the way of the future, but don't rely on having everything written there. There were some mismatches between what you were saying and what was on the slide. You spoke about automated messages, and on the slide it said IVR. So just keep those aligned. Interactive voice blah thing. Is anxiety the correct word that precedes call abandonment, or is it frustration? For me, it's frustration. Yep. When you're responding to questions, just be a bit more succinct. Think, bit going off task, bit garbled, succinct. Okay, any other areas of improvement?
Yeah, I would also like to say that when handling discussion, you guys went too long. Yeah, so try to be precise and succinct and stay on the topic. And there were some slides that were hard to read, especially the one that had data. Yeah, so it's better if it's visible properly. And also, you guys didn't discuss the recommendations when you were presenting them. Actually, Peter had to tell you again to discuss them. It's better if you discuss them at the same time.
Yeah, I would like to have printed handouts, because some of the slides were too succinct, and maybe to use, as said regarding our process flow, to use the pointer, especially when you were talking about waiting time with the agents. Thank you.
Okay, find a lot of positive points. Any other positive points you've got left?
I did.
You want any others?
No, that's all for now.
I've got a positive point about sensitivity, and I don't know what that's about. But anyway, if anyone can prompt me and remind me what sensitivity would be about. What else? Yeah, I appreciate it's a complex and exciting problem that you're tasked with, and it's an increasingly important problem that many businesses challenge dealing with call centres. So what you've learned in this will be tremendously valuable, not just for you, but for your client, but also for other people as well. So and also particularly drawing upon your literature review has been, I think, a very valuable thing for you in this study, and as I remarked before, using the analytics to help to understand and give guidance clearly is something valued by the client. Any other positive things you'd like to remark on?
Well, yeah, so like, the old thing was really good because, yeah, call waiting and customer service is the core for every business. So, yeah, so that every organization needs to work on that in order for the business to grow. So this is really good on what you guys have done.
Good. Give him a hand. Thanks, Lee. Thank you.